The whole Matrix cancellation, or attempt, I should say, right? Because I think they utterly failed completely. But their whole attempt, where do you think this stemmed from?
I don't think there's a bunch of big bad leftists sitting around in a room calculating how to destroy masculinity or destroy the family unit. I do think there are certain narratives that take on and just spread like wildfire. Now, if I was a leader of a country, would I want a bunch of free-thinking, strong, banded together brothers? That's a bit threatening, isn't it? However, if I had these weak men who are essentially being owned by their wives, disrespected by their children, too unhappy to really rise up, that you could argue that's a good thing if your goal is to control the masses. So I think at the end of the day, the less masculine a population is, the easier it is to control. So I think many leaders around the world perhaps have bought into this anti-masculinity drive simply because of control reasons. And again, I don't think it's some globally orchestrated new world order, as far as my opinion, but I just think certain narratives benefit those who are in power. And say, for example, if you destroy the family unit, if you take away religion from people's lives, where are you going to look for guidance? You're going to look to the government, look to culture, which can be influenced by the power players of the world. So to me, this is all about control. That's all it is. There's a lot more of the masses than there are of the rulers. Why not make the people as sheepish and as lost and as easily controlled as possible? That's what I see driving the assault on masculine values, on traditional values, on religion.
See, that's the same thing we're trying to do, like Brother Rami said. We're trying to replace this whole matrix and brainwashing with Islam. But the system is doing the opposite. They're like 10 steps ahead, 100 steps ahead. They replaced religion with the system.
With a new type of religion. Yeah. I don't think you can ever beat wokeism. I think when the left controls the information flow, Instagram, Hollywood, mainstream media, how are you going to compete against that? The only way to do it, to me, is by those who are open, who have that soft heart to Islam, finding Islam and holding themselves to a different set of morals, holding themselves to a different level of accountability. Instead of trying to please the woke gods by putting their bio in their Twitter handle, they need to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is a lot deeper and a lot more meaningful and a lot bigger value add to society. I saw an amazing study that checked the amount of actual charity work done by liberals compared to the charity done by conservatives. Conservatives give so much more. So again, that was in America. These liberals walking around thinking they're doing something by just basically hating on anyone who doesn't spread their narrative. They're not actually benefiting society. They're not doing anything of value other than spreading negativity.
Okay, so with Andrew Tate, we see that he's very on top of everything. And
Top G.
Top G, yeah. He said many times like that he only eats like at the end of the day, stuff like this.
That's
and then you mentioned earlier that he's literally working all day long.
It's constant. I'd love to.
He's training as well.
I'd love to talk to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then we
won't.
Yeah.
You hear slander like incel. He was born rich. He had an easy life.
I love that.
Is that what someone would do? And you hear it with women too. You hear misogynist, someone that abuses women. But what was your experience with him interacting with women?
So again, I can say hand on heart, I've never once seen him act in a way that matches these allegations. Never once have I seen him even be rude to a waiter. The real Tate that you interact with is a very polite individual. Yes, he's on his phone a lot because he's working and he's focused, but I've never once seen him be openly disrespectful or nasty towards anybody. That's not who he is. And you hear that from everyone who actually knows him. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. But the real Tate is very logical, very intelligent, very respectful, and very, very driven. Again, if a man is that focused on conquest, on becoming the best version of himself, why would he engage in this low-level stuff that he's accused of? What's more likely? A guy with a Bugatti trying to exploit someone for, I don't know, what is it, a couple $100 a day? Yeah. Or getting online, bringing in the attention of the world and monetizing that, which we know he can do effectively.
Yeah.
So and some other things about Tate. I think the best way to put it is that he's very firm and he's very principled, but he's also very empathetic. A lot of people will try and say he's a narcissist or he's a this or a that. Spend time with the guy. He's very empathetic. He's very respectful. For his brothers, he'd do anything. Once you were in a circle with Tate, he is extremely caring as a man. So all this idea that he's somehow some nasty guy, and look, let's get specific. If two adults want to engage in sexual acts that are forceful. I mean, what is the most popular book of all time outside of, the holy books? I hate mentioning them in the same sentence. 50 Shades of Grey. Have you seen that? One of the most successful books of the last couple of decades. Yeah. It's because a lot of women are into that sort of thing. Now, if you're going to engage in that sort of stuff consensually, that's your business. Why is that all of a sudden being used as a pretense to say that this man is a monster? I mean, let's be really honest here. The majority of women in the world do have fantasies that involve BDSM or 50 Shades of Grey type activities. That's why the book is so popular. We're going to forget that and say, oh, wait a sec, Tate strangled a woman during intimacy. I know Tate. He's not going to force that on somebody. I also know women. Women enjoy that sort of thing. Right. All of that is just being forgotten in the media all of a sudden. He's just a bad guy. Yeah. I thought the left were meant to be accepting of people's sexual preferences. Why are we kink shaming? Tell me that's not kink shaming. It's the textbook kink shaming.
If every married man had his conversations with his wife leaked, I'm sure there would be things that they would deem as forceful or this.
Especially if you screenshotted just a part of that conversation, not the whole thing. Yeah. Again, I mean, if we're talking about the dark side of the left, Stalin's head of security was famous for saying, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. In other words, if we want to look into any citizen, we can find crimes to pin it on him. Yeah. And this is what we're seeing right here. Tate spoke against the agenda loudly. He became the primary point of reference for the fighting age males of the world. That's a serious amount of power. Yeah. So let's accuse him of something, even if the evidence is so weak that we have the two main complainants on record conspiring about how to lie and entrap this guy. Yeah. But he's still in jail. To me, it's mind-bending. It's
Joel, when you look at the way that the Matrix works, they tend to, you find patterns. The way that they handle one thing, it's the way that they handle most things. Yep. So the same way that they're handling this mishap, they take one thing that he probably had an exchange with one of his girls at the time, and they use that to represent his entirety. They do that with him as a whole, as a person. They'll take a clip out of context where he's talking about one thing, and they will only show that one individual clip. I get it, that's how the internet works, that's how TikTok works, that's how YouTube Shorts works. But they don't actually show the long-form content. And I saw street interviews where women were asked publicly, like, do you watch Andrew Tate? They're like, yes, I hate him. And they're like, what do you watch? They're like, oh, he's always on my For You page. They're like, have you watched any long-form content? No, I haven't. So how do you know someone like that then?
There it is. And for those who want to see the current Tate, watch Tate's final message on Rumble. It's there. That's the level-headed, non-playing a character Tate. And it's very different to that guy, talking all a good game. But to your point, the most clear-cut example of that selective soundbiting, that clip where he's bang out the machete, boom in her face, shut up, and they're like, look, Tate's talking about putting a machete in someone's face. Yeah. The full long form says he has machetes around his house. He grew up rough, man. Southside Chicago, Luton, these are dangerous places. He grew up rough, He was a professional fighter. People were trying to hurt him. He's had 80-something fights. Wow. So as a result, he's very safety conscious and he has a lot of weapons in his house. That's not a crime. None of them are illegal. The pistols that are in his house were from his licensed security team. Let's not forget that. He doesn't break any laws when it comes to weapon ownership, or he'd be charged like that. But what we see there is Tate was saying, all right, so I've got a lot of knives around my house. Some people say, what if a woman busted you cheating and got a machete and put it in your face? He said, I would bang out the machete, grab her up. He's saying how he would react if the woman was attacking him with a machete. But they completely remove that context and they make it look like he's coming at some woman with a machete, which he would never do. It's such nasty games.
How convenient.
It is. And all these so-called investigative, independent journalists, all these people who've formed all these opinions on Tate, they haven't even watched the full-form videos. Yet they're somehow, they can go on a Twitter space and speak with some authority about a man who they've never met and never even researched thoroughly. Yeah. It's quite remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, they always need some kind of enemy. They always need some kind of narrative. They always need some kind of drama being stirred up to the public so that, the government can always be seen in a nice light. They're protecting us. They're handling human trafficking. They're protecting the citizens. And if you look at other people like politicians and like Julian Assange and these people who America hates, they also have allegations against them. And it's the same exact method. People came out, or multiple women came out and said he did this and that to me.
And that's your answer there.
A very special announcement. As you can see, we are here in Masjid Al-Nabawi. For all the Muslim brothers out there that are trying to level up that drip game, we have our first drop coming out soon. We have 200 pieces that are going to be released within this drop. So if that's something you're trying to do, then click the link on the screen in the description box down below to get 10% off on the drop day, which is March 31st. And make sure to check your email box so you can see if you got the message. Check your spam folder as well to see if you got the message, so that way you can be on point and be notified as soon as we release this clothing on March 31st. 5% of all proceeds are going to building a masjid in Norway, so make sure that you are checking your email so that you can confirm and be notified when we drop on March 31st. The collection is going to be called Victory in Patience in honor of Andrew and Tristan Tate for what they're going through right now. So let's make dua so that Allah releases them as soon as possible and brings them out in the best state that He can possibly bring them out in.